If you've ever wished you had a podcasting pro with nearly a decade of experience whispering growth secrets into your ear, that's exactly what you'll get when you tune into Podcast Growth Tools with me, your host, Kylie Chandler. This is the ultimate show for you if you're ready to grow your podcast audience, skyrocket engagement, and turn your show into a traffic-driving, list-building powerhouse. I've been in the podcasting world since 2015, helping creators like Amy Porterfield grow their shows to over 1 million downloads a month. My superpower? Breaking down proven podcast strategies and marketing techniques into step-by-step guidance you can actually implement without fluff, overwhelm, or guesswork. On this show, we're getting real about what actually moves the needle when it comes to growing your podcast audience and using it to boost your email list growth. From actionable insights and expert interviews to behind-the-scenes secrets, I'll help you turn your podcast into a traffic-driving, list-growing machine. Grab your earbuds, hit subscribe, and let's take your podcast to the next level. Hey there, and welcome back to an episode of Podcast Growth Tools. So I have a question. If you've ever felt like you're constantly scrambling to produce and promote your podcast, like you're on a never-ending content treadmill, this episode is perfect for you. So what I'm noticing is that one of the biggest struggles I hear from podcasters is that they love creating episodes. Like I hear so many times that the podcast is my creative outlet, but they struggle with the systems that they need to have in place to make production smooth and sustainable. And they're stressed with keeping up on content, overwhelmed by promotion, and ultimately just like burning out. And here's the truth. Your podcast does not have to feel this way. Like, I know it can feel that way, but it doesn't have to. And if you want to continue podcasting, truly, I mean this, if you want to continue podcasting, you need to create systems. You need to create a project plan, a management system. And guess what? We're going to talk about that today because I believe that with the right systems, you can create a show that practically just runs itself so that you can focus on showing up, delivering value, and growing your audience. And if you're already deep into your podcast journey and don't have the system set up yet, do not stress. There's literally no better time than right now to get organized and to create these systems. And the other thing is, if you are somebody who has a system in place and you're like, I don't know if I should listen to this episode, stick around because I'm pretty sure I'm probably sharing a few things that might be new to you. And the reason I believe that is because I am a planner. I have perfected a system of project planning for podcasts, for getting ahead, for batching, and I'm talking about all of that and sharing it with you today. Also, when we're talking about project planning, I personally find it easiest to just like see a visual example. So I'm taking you behind the scenes and showing you what my project plan looks like in my project management system with a video. So if you want to grab that and if you want to see that video where I just screenshotting and taking a screen video of what my project management looks like, then head to podcastmarketinghub.com/plan and you can grab that. And again, I'll walk you through what my system looks like so that you can just duplicate it for yourself and then you'll be off to the races. So again, that's podcastmarketinghub.com/plan. Let's dive in. Okay. So let's start at the top. Why are systems so essential for podcasting? Okay. Every podcaster, no matter how big or small, truly benefits from a streamline of workflows. Without them, I believe you're wasting your time, you're going to be missing deadlines, and you are going to constantly feel behind. The goal here is to build a repeatable process so that every single episode follows the same structure. Whether you're producing solo or managing a team, it's going to all be the same. It's going to get done all at the same pace, at the same rate. That is why you need this process. So let's focus on just step one. Set up a repeatable project plan. So if you don't already have a podcast project management system or just a project management system, this is your first step. Having a structured, easy to duplicate workflow is seriously game changing. So when it comes to choosing a project management tool, you need one that works and feels really good for your business because this is going to be the home base for your podcast workflow. I personally love and use Asana. I think it's easy to customize, but there are tons of other great options. Trello, ClickUp, Notion. Some people just use like a Google spreadsheet. Whatever works is great. Just pick one that works for you and stick with it. Truly stick with it. Like get to know it, use it for a while so that you're not going from one to the next and wondering why they're not working or they don't feel flowy. So that's step 1. Once you have that, once you've selected your tool, you'll want to create a master template that you can duplicate for every single episode. Here's how I organize mine. I essentially think about like overarching organizational categories. So those fall into planning and pre recording. This includes guest scheduling, solo episodes, planning, researching, creating outlines, all that good stuff. The next overarching category is recording and editing. So that's recording sessions. And if you are even doing like solo episodes, I still include those. I still schedule. Like this episode was scheduled in my project management system to be recorded today. This also includes editing and then first pass quality control, meaning I do a quality control later on once right before the episode goes live, but this is like QCing the audio and the edits and things like that if you edit your show. The next category is post-production, so creating video clips, graphics, any additional media assets. And then you have social and promotional, so drafting promotional copy, designing assets, and then scheduling content there. Next up would be show notes and newsletter. So writing SEO rich blog style show notes, crafting your newsletter copy, linking to any lead magnets or creating those freebies, whatever you need to do there. And then the last section is that quality control I mentioned and go live. So final checks, ensuring all the assets are scheduled at the right time, the right day, and then monitoring the live release of that episode. So this template ensures that every episode follows the same structure. It's going to save you time and energy, trust me. Okay, so let's focus on step 2, assigning tasks and setting deadlines. Even if you're a one-person show, I believe assigning deadlines is crucial, especially if you're looking to grow and monetize your podcast and maybe you bring on a VA one day. If you get into the system right from the get-go, it's going to make everybody's life so much easier. And then what if you grow really fast and really rapidly? You might end up hiring a full team. Like you want these systems in place because without them, production timelines will slip. And podcasting, again, it's going to feel like that constant scramble and the more likely you are to bow out before you should. So now, I personally love working about 6 weeks out. That's like the sweet spot. I feel that works well for me. That helps me figure out due dates and timeline flow. I've supported people who have had their podcast scheduled 2 months out. I've also supported people and still do who have their podcast 1 week out plans. So figure out what works best for you and then just commit to it. This is also a great way to ensure that you can take time away or batch ahead if you have something coming up like a vacation. So, this is why I'm a big fan of this. Here's a little pro tip: treat your podcast like a business. If you're working with a team or a VA, assign tasks clearly so everyone knows who is responsible for what and by when. All right, let's talk about batching. So, step 3, batching, planning, and recording. So, if you're not batching yet, you're probably working harder than you need to, if I'm being honest. I'm a huge advocate for batching podcast content and for a good reason. Instead of producing and recording each episode one at a time, I batch multiple episodes in advance. This helps me to stay ahead. It helps me to stay calm. Here's how I batch content. So hopefully this will help you. I plan out 10 episodes at one time. So I don't necessarily record all of them at once, trust me, but I know what's coming up so that I can create a cohesive content strategy. I can plan things out in my project management system and I can be getting ahead every single week. I also use like a master podcast grid, which helps me out with content and knowing what's going live and when and what I need to be working on. And I just do that in a Google Sheet. So I keep it very, I don't know that I call it very simple. It has a lot of columns. I like to have a lot of details in there, but you can keep it really simple and create one for yourself. So I create multiple episodes in one session if I can. So if I have a full content day, I'll knock out like 3 to 4 solo episodes in one sitting. If you have guests on, then I mean, if you like to batch those and if you're good at that, I would recommend trying to do that. So for me, I always record on Tuesday. So I schedule a time where I'm doing solos on Tuesday, or if I have a guest, I'm not going back and forth with them trying to figure out a day and a time. I say, I have these times on this Tuesday or this Tuesday, and then they pick a time. So I would recommend doing that because it's nice to know that that is your recording day. If you want to get ready, like makeup or anything, then you can do it for that day. And you're just in that mindset and you have everything set up. Like for me, my podcast doesn't always sit here. I do pack it away when I'm not using it. So I like to have it all set up and then I dive in, I record my solos, I do a couple guest interviews, boom, done. So that's what I like to do. And that's what I recommend doing. And then the next thing is batch edit and schedule in advance. So once episodes are recorded, I move them into post production and promotion mode so that I'm never working week to week. So these are all things that help you get ahead because batching eliminates that last minute scramble and gives you space to focus on high impact podcast growth strategies instead of just like keeping up all the time. All right, let's talk about step 4. So, building systems for repeatable tasks. So, now that we've streamlined production, let's talk about these repeatable systems for everything. So, let's talk about guest management. Having a structured outreach process and a system for prepping and notifying your guests when their episode goes live is life changing. I do a ton of templates. I do a ton of canned emails and responses. So if you can organize these up front, or if you notice, hey, I'm typing the same thing to every single guest to notify them that their interview is next week at this time with these links to join, to record, or I always send an email to their team 1 week prior to the episode going live. And in that, I include the go live date. I also give them a Google Doc with just some swipe copy or all the links that they need. I give them a little bit of like a newsletter copy if they want to use that. I give them links to the reels. So I have a template for that. I also have a canned email that I send out prior to every single guest episode going live. So I've systematized it. I know what I'm doing. It makes it very quick. And if you have a VA come along, you can have them support you with this as well. When it comes to content creation and promotion, again, creating templates for your show notes, your newsletters, social media posts will all save you time, especially if you use my type of show notes that are pretty long and lengthy. I highly recommend that you use a template, and I recommend training your AI to use those templates to spit you out the first version or the second version. Same with the newsletters, like train it in how you like to format your show notes and your newsletters based off of a template. And then it's going to make this process so much quicker, so much smoother. Okay, and then when it comes to automation, think about what tools you can be using. So, ConvertKit or your email service provider to send out your emails, to get people into your nurture sequence if you're promoting a free resource, mini chat for sending over the episode, giving them the right links. All of those automated workflows, email sequences, and even social media scheduling will help this process to move along really smoothly. Okay, so here's a pro tip for you. If you ever plan to scale or hire a team, having these systems in place beforehand will make delegating so much easier. I cannot believe how many big teams do not use SOPs, standard operating procedures, for those of you who are wondering what I'm talking about. And I honestly, like, I love an SOP. They are so quick and easy to make these days with AI, which I'll tell you how to do so. But you should be creating these even if you're solo. If you are a solopreneur, even if you don't have a VA, if it's like just you, or if you do have a VA and it's just you and a VA, if you can create an SOP, you can just hand it to them. This is how I like it done. Do it this way. Here's the links. Here's the process. Here's the template. Here's how I use ChatGPT with it. Whatever it is, it will make it so much smoother. It'll create less back and forth. So I highly recommend it, which leads me into step 5, and that's document everything. And that is documenting them with an SOP. Create an SOP for any process in your business. So they may not sound exciting, and that's why a lot of people don't do it. But if you actually want to treat your podcast like a business, you really need them. But I want to give you a quick hack for building an SOP without feeling like it's a ton of extra work. Like I remember back in the day when you would sit down and you'd open up a Google sheet and you'd be like, okay, I have to create an SOP. And then you'd like type out line by line, trying to remember the whole process. And it was a hassle. So this is a really quick hack that you will love. So when you are doing your SOP, like say that you're actually uploading your show notes, record your entire process with Loom. Just screen record it And then in Loom, what you can do is you can actually go grab that transcript and you can take that transcript, put it in something like ChatGPT, and then say, format this into an SOP for me. And literally, it's going to spit out an SOP. Obviously, read through it, make sure it's accurate, add any links, add the video that you just recorded. That's a really great way, too, to support anyone who might come in and support you with this task. And boom, it's done. So that is what I would recommend getting into that flow, trying to do that often, do that with every process that you use. And then if you have a new process added, do that again. Now, if you do bring a VA or a podcast editor, they will thank you. Like this is going to make it so easy for them to plug and play basically what you've been doing. So I highly recommend it. All right, guys. So that is my overview of how to create a really strong project management and project planning task for creating your podcast. Again, if you want to see what mine looks like so that you can copy it for your own and just get a little bit of inspiration, head to podcastmarketinghub.com/plan. And I will walk you through my Asana plan. But of course, you can take that and then put it in Trello, or you can take that and put it in Google Sheets, whatever you need. Again, that's podcastmarketinghub.com/plan. But here's the thing, at the end of the day, your podcast should not feel like a never ending grind. Like, that is not what we want. This is not why we started a podcast. But with the right systems, you can truly create, promote, and grow your show without burning out, with actually enjoying the process, and eventually hand it off to a VA without worrying that it's going to go to shit. So if this episode was helpful, please subscribe, leave a review, share it with your fellow podcasters. And if you want more behind the scenes podcast growth strategies, be sure that you are on my newsletter. You can get there by grabbing today's free resource, podcastmarketinghub.com/plan. And of course, if you're interested in taking your podcast to the next level, I would love to hop on a discovery call with you. You can do that by heading to podcastmarketinghub.com/call. And we can chat. We can audit your podcast and just see what potential you have and then create a roadmap for you. So thank you so much for being here, and I will see you guys next week.